first basic. We're going to hold in both arms here, and we're going to bring the arm out, so left leg in front, stand sideways here, left leg in front, and we're going to take the right arm as we step forward, and we're going to swing 1, 2, catch. So let's do that again. From this position, right hand is above the head here, and I'm going to swing it around my body. So from this position, 1, 2, catch. Again, 1, 2, catch. 1, 2, catch. So I'm striking diagonal strikes to the neck between the head and the shoulders. So from here, 1, 2, catch. Let's do with the other arm. So from this position, 1, 2, catch. Again, 1, 2, catch. And last one, over there, 1, 2, catch. Now, there are two ways of striking with a nunchaku. If it impacts my opponent and it bounces back, I need to be able to stop the recoil against my back. So a lot of the times when you see a person with a nunchaku hitting their back, it is actually the recoil that you are dealing with. So this to that is the recoil. This isn't striking my opponent. This is me catching. It could be that this happens, it recoils, and I bring it to my left hand to control whatever the situation might be. So that is when there's heavy recoil. The other thing is that you don't necessarily want to smash with a nunchaku. Same as with the double sticks or the single stick, you want to cut. So it's a nice idea to think of this more as a blade than a smashing implement. So I want to cut through the target instead of smashing and losing control over it. So from here, if we do that first basic, let's say we are clearly not blocking a sword or something, because a sword or a stick or whatever would break right through this. But imagine that you are being placed under pressure. You need to maybe clear the arms. Someone's trying to grab you. Could be someone has you and you're striking, and you just find that gap where you can break out of the grip and you're going to strike. Right. In our basic, we're doing 1, 2, and 3. At any one of those instances, you could be impacting, or you might be impacting all three, depending on what happens and if there's recoil. So from here, 1, and we're just going to practice trying to get all three to hit the target. So it's 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to catch. Now that is not realistic in terms of the fight, but it is a good exercise to practice control over the nunchaku. The last strike is probably, as I said, not an impact. So we try one more time. We're clearing from whichever activity my opponent's doing there, and I'm moving 1, 2, 3. And we do it again. We clear, strike, strike, strike. And one more. Clear, 1, 2, 3. And then of course, now you can start practicing the other arm. Right. Do that a couple of times and get used to how it feels to hit an object with a nunchaku. Our next basic, we're going to bring it over the shoulder here, and we're going to strike at a diagonal down. And as I said in the previous basic, when you see impacting the back here, could be dealing with a recoil. Another way of looking at it is that it's not dealing necessarily with the recoil of my opponent, but that this strike against the back here is the placeholder for the impact against my opponent. So when it's dealing with recoil, this, and it bounces back, and I stop that recoil against my back. Alternatively, this impact here, when I'm cutting through and then bringing around for the next basic, which we'll look at, is that this impact is that impact there? It's a little bit abstract, but try and understand this becomes the placeholder for that impact. Right, so that said, bring it over your shoulder. We're going to strike diagonally down. Then we're going to cut up again, but we're going to bring it over our head and stop. So diagonal down, then over the head and stop against the back. Again, that could be dealing with recoil or the placeholder for impacting my opponent. So 1, over there, 2, over, 3, over, and 4, over. And obviously you do a couple more. Place in your other hand. So it's hit and over, hit. From the hip, start cutting up, bring it around the head and back. 1, 2, 3, and then last one, 4. Right. Now we can also try and swap. So when we're swapping, we're going to bring hand to hand. We're going to be slapping the hands together. So not catching the opposite stick, but the same one, just placing from hand to hand. So hit, over the head, and then place it in the other hand. Hit, over the head, and place in the other hand. 1, and change. 2, and change. And 3, and change. And last one, 4, and change. Right, so that's the basic. Now, let's see how that would change when faced with a solid obstacle that you're hitting. So from here, first of all, if I miss, that deals with the strike through. So then that means my next strike could maybe impact, and this is recoil. So from here, if I miss, 1, 2. Easy enough. Miss, impact. Okay. If I missed again, so now we're assuming that I'm missing quite a lot. Miss, miss, and that's my next impact. So from here, I hit down, I miss, I hit up, I miss, I impact the third one. So it's 1, 2, and 3. 1, and the last one hits. It could also be that I'm impacting and then going around. So if I am impacting on this first strike here, that recoil, instead of stopping against my back, goes around and it impacts. Let's assume it misses. So from here, I impact and I stop against my back. So impact, it comes back, it goes around, it misses because my opponent's now lying on the floor with broken teeth or whatever. So 1 and 2. 1, and I use that swing above my head to control. Or I impact, it comes back. So for that one, if I'm doing this, that movement against my back here is that there. So I've got to understand that it's going to impact my back, and then it would move to the other hand. So it could be that I'm impacting, it's in the other hand, might be grabbing or catching whatever here, and then impacting with the other hand. It's a bit abstract in the beginning, but later on, hopefully, it makes a little bit more sense. So from your over the shoulder, if we practice impact, back here, and then maybe bring it through to this hand, or just place it in the other hand, and we go impact, place in the other hand. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way, like I said, you miss, you impact, miss, impact, miss, impact, miss, impact. Right. So play around with which strike actually hits your target, so that you understand the full basic as to each position that could be impacting your opponent. Our next basic, again we have it over the shoulder here, we're striking, let's say we missed. instead of bringing it straight back here, because it might be that I'm being crowded, it might be that I don't have access to come back this side, or I couldn't change to this side. Whatever the angle is, you should be able to deal with it. So from here, once I'm at my hip, I'm going to bring it over to the other side, kind of in a sneaky movement here. Very close to my body, just bringing it around, and then uppercutting up. Either under the arms, or against my, between the legs, or against my opponent's chin. So from here, 1 and up. 1, rotate up. Hit, circle, and just bring it up. If you get confused, hit and just relax the nunchaku here and then hit up. No swinging. Hit and completely relax it, bring it around and uppercut. So that you don't do any funny, weird swings here to get to the upward strike. Hit, relax, up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right, let's place it in the other hand. So from here, hit, just relax it, bring it over and up. Hit, up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right, now let's analyze this movement. The chances of it getting entangled if I'm hitting up, it's quite good. So if I'm just trying to be, when I'm too close to my opponent, trying to strike up, I'm going to lose control over the nunchaku. So this movement is very much with the tip of the nunchaku, trying to either smash against the wrist. I wouldn't think it's for the chin, but if you hit the chin, that would be great. But it's a very, very tip of the nunchaku, trying to either break through my opponent's guard or something like that, where I want the gap to then be able to finish the fight. So from here, let's look with the other hand here. I might be hitting, and on this one I miss, and I want to be sneaky here, and I'm going to strike and try and break through my opponent's guard. So I hit, arms are up, whatever my opponent has in his hands, and a quick strike to break through the guard. So from here, miss, try and just impact the arms. Just with the tip of the nunchaku. So you need proper distancing there. But it's important that we don't focus on that movement. 1, we don't want to get entangled. And 2, we don't want to put all our money on that strike solving the problem. So again, if I've impacted here, it shouldn't be a problem. I shouldn't be doing this thing to still try and break through the defenses. So this one may be missed. That one breaks through the shield or the guard. That one finishes the technique. I have it in the other arm here. I miss. Sneaky break through the defenses. Finish. Put it in the other arm. 1, 2, and 3. Right. So I hope you understand this is more to try and clear the path to finish the fight. Have fun. Our next movement is going to look at a little bit of an abstract movement within our kata. And that is pressing forward or bringing it forward and then bringing it around under the arm. And most of the time, this will be thought of, I'm just bringing it to my shoulder. But I don't need to bring it around in such an elaborate way. So why do it? One theory I have is that these are strikes. I'm being crowded, I'm being grabbed. My opponent has taken the advantage of this weapon away. What is the advantage? It is that I can keep distance and strike my opponent and keep my opponent at a distance while impacting. So if my opponent's too close, I need to resort to stabbing and striking. And these are quite powerful movements if you understand them. So imagine that this is my opponent's arm, and this movement here, where my left hand's in front and right hand's at an angle here, is an impact. But then I'm going to continue the impact and try and break free. So think of this as an impact, that as an impact, and then I'm ready. So it is 1 and 2 and ready. 1, 2 and ready. 1, 2 and ready. We take the other direction. 1, 2 and ready. 1, there's your kamae position here. Now, bringing it over the shoulder becomes a strike. So now, once you understand those strikes, obviously, what are you trying to do? You're trying to get distance again. So the idea would be, if you look at the cutter goes 1, 2, and then starts swinging the nunchaku. So from this position here, 1, 2, now create distance. Either I move back or my opponent moves back, and I strike. So clear the distance, add a strike. 1, 2, 3. Let's do one more. 1, 2, 3. So these seemingly fancy movements in the kata, weird rotations, they have a practical purpose if you understand them.